Well, good. Was really blown away by this experience we had over the weekend. Those of you who were on board either Friday night or Saturday know this amazing energy called Kyle Cease was here and just really lit us up with his incredible spirit, his heart. Someone who has really experienced transformation in his life. He was always a very funny person, which I certainly appreciate, and I think many of us appreciate humor as a way of opening up, of lightening up, experiencing something that outside of what the mind is wanting to do all the time. So humor is a great way, is a great entryway, a great portal into truth, because it actually gets us to do what we are trying to do all the time, which is to get our hearts open. And you can't be uproariously laughing and have your heart closed at the same time. So it's a wonderful little trick, it gets our hearts open, and then we can hear what maybe we haven't heard all along. So Kyle did that very beautifully, and then he has this wonderful message as well, which has a lot to do with what we teach here at Unity Santa Barbara, which Unity teaches in general. And he had a little quip that he kept repeating over and over again, which was that you're not what loves you, you're what you love. Don't be connected to what loves you, that external thing, which so much of us, we try to be the person that we think people would want us to be. We probably grew up with conditional sort of messages of love and approval, and those had lots to do with, if we acted a certain way, then we would get the positive vibes that, of course, we hunger for, we all want. And if we didn't do what people wanted us to do, then we often got the reverse of that. And so we learned to become a sort of a puppet to the approval of other people. And, we say, oh, no, I'm beyond that. But, boy, I find that as much work as I've done, I still think a lot about what other people think about me when I'm doing whatever I'm doing in life. And so this was a great reminder. Do what you love, not what loves you. And of course, money is something sometimes that loves us. We interpret money or any kind of success or externals as being that which is sort of a validation of what we're doing, instead of the internal validation that we get when we're really showing up authentically and being who we've come here to be and really being connected with our heart space. And this is a profound message of truth that you hear here all the time. It has a lot to do with oftentimes when people's lives begin to turn, they pivot on that very question. When they realize, sometimes painfully, or sometimes just through profound insight, that they have been living from a false voice. They have been building up the false self over time, and that has been what has been sort of motivating them to live their life. They haven't been living from inside out. We've been living from outside in, which means, like in Kyle's words, we are doing what loves us. We are responding to the external motivation and constantly looking, like we're in a state of hunger, lack, or limitation, and looking for what might complete us, and other people and money and success and all these sort of external things can do that, until the day comes when we recognize that we have lost ourself. We have given up ourself. And sometimes we don't even realize that until life breaks down for us in a really profound way, or we get a glimpse of our real self. And maybe that's because suddenly life has stripped everything away from us, or maybe we're in the presence of someone who just really sees us, really sees our heart, really sees the truth of our being and calls that forth from us. And when that happens, then we get a glimpse of how life could be, to live from inside out, to live from who and what I've come here to be. And that could be profound and life-changing, and it can be cathartic, and it can be transformative. And I pray that all of us have that experience. So I wanted to say that about Kyle and how much I appreciated him bringing that message to us and bringing it to us in such an entertaining way. And also in his generosity, I want you to know that in the course of Friday night, he said that he was going to donate $1,000 back to Unity of Santa Barbara, on top of giving us a very discounted rate for his appearance over the weekend. So just know that that is who he is as well. And so he's walking his talk, not just loving him, but doing what he loves and being gracious and generous with it, so as well. So today is kind of a wrap-up of a Course in Miracles series that I've been doing with you, Lessons from A Course in Miracles, which I ambitiously set out to do 4 weeks ago, that in 4 weeks I tell you everything you need to know about this 1,200-page volume that takes people decades to even begin to grok, understand, apply to their life. I'm being facetious. It doesn't take that long. It only takes a moment, actually, to understand everything that A Course in Miracles teaches. Sometimes it's a long time getting to that moment. That's really more of the truth than anything else. I thought that was really profound. Obviously, you don't. You do these talks in front of the dog, and you get false feedback. So, but then I'm doing this for what I love. Thank you. Thank you. What loves me. So I'll do some shameless self-disclosure around that. Thank you for reminding me of who I'm not. So through the course, Friday night, I really enjoyed Friday night. I was here and I was witnessing and participating and so forth. And on Saturday, I decided to be the sound guy. And so Jim wouldn't have to be here all day, and I could sort of be a part of this, which I wanted to be anyway. So I was sitting in the back, and I found myself during the course of the day beginning to do this thing called comparison. You know this one? Comparing myself to Kyle. And I was not coming up well on the comparison, you know? Like the scale was like, here's Kyle and here's Larry, and Kyle was, his stock value was going up and mine was going down, 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 down. And I didn't even notice that I was doing it. It takes some conscious awareness to know, even when you're in the midst of doing this, even after all these years, all I'd realize is that I was sort of feeling sad. You know that one? Feeling a little sad. Like, why am I sad? This is funny, it's profound. It's articulate. And I realized I was doing this appraisal thing. I was saying, God, this guy is really funny and he's smart and I don't know anybody who's more glib and articulate on this topic than he is. And I'm not that. I can't do that. I can't be that funny and then be that profound at the same time. So having this wonderful thing, but it's going on. It's sort of like in the background. It's like almost like someone's in the other room talking. You can just barely hear them talking. And so you're not really sure if that's really happening or not. But anyway, it's getting in. And I'm finding by the end of the day, I'm like, I think I just want to go home and go to sleep. And I don't think I want to come to church tomorrow at all, because why don't I just ask Kyle to come back on Sunday and do this whole gall darn thing, I mean, he's obviously the better man, No, you don't have to, no. I know you do, but you don't have to say that, because I don't want to be what loves me. I have to get this inside me. And it's not going to happen in one day, but it's just a great awareness to see how that can happen, regardless of the amount of, I get so much confirmation externally and internally that I'm okay. And yet still, in that experience yesterday, it all sort of it began to unravel for me. And so I share that with you, not so that you feel bad for me or even feel somewhat hopeless that this could happen, but really just to understand that voice is always probably going to be there to a certain extent. And that's not reason for despair. It's just to recognize that we have this part of ourself that believes that it's separate from its source, believe that it's separate from wholeness. We can call it the ego, we can call it the personal self, we can call it the monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. But there is that voice of who we are not, or you can call it the false self, which is probably very accurate. Who we think we are. Who we think we are was having this experience of feeling that I was less than, because somebody was having brilliance in front of me. And he wasn't coming in here to be the minister of Unity Santa Barbara, there was no reason for me to feel in any way threatened in a comparative way with him. But, I didn't even need that. All I needed to think was, how does that compare to me? Comparison is the best way for you to be disconnected from yourself. Because again, from the reason that Kyle was saying all weekend long, it's not what loves you that determines the authenticity, the joy that you will get from living your life. There will always be somebody. I used to do martial arts years ago, and I remember the sensei saying, don't ever get to the point where you think you're better than anybody. There's always somebody that's better than you, So you let go of that. You let go that there's this notion that, I just got to be better than everyone and be the best person that you can be. And that is complete in and of itself. Me being me, and letting go of the story of comparison or evaluation or how someone else is showing up is the sure way for me to get in touch with God, what God created in me to express and to be. And we say that in our mission statement, to realize and express our divine nature. And that's the path to happiness. That's the path to well-being. If we're stuck with some notion of some external, how many Academy Awards or how many accolades or how many movies you have to make or how much money you have to make or how many degrees you need to get, if those externals are the measure of your success or the measure of your well-being, there is no end to that. Couldn't you just get one more degree? I don't care how many PhDs you have. Couldn't you get one more? I don't care if you have $10 million. Couldn't you get 11 or 12 or 13? We know that is a hole that we drop into if that becomes it. And the only antidote to that is not just to sort of get back ego, don't think that way, don't trap me that way. It's really more to work with what's already alive and well in you, which is what we teach here all the time, what you already are. And are you giving expression to what you already are? Are you using your gifts and your passion in a purposeful way in life? Because that, in expression, is fulfillment. And when I'm doing this, and when I'm doing it that way, then there is no other consideration for other. There is no other involved in that. It's not like I'm doing well compared to this person or that person, because there's just the doing, the being of myself. And in the being of myself, there's nothing missing. Does that make sense? It's being who you have come here to be, not doing something in some sort of external measure that determines how fulfilled we are. And so that's just me getting back to this, and sharing it with you. Just get back to doing what I've come here to do and to do it the best way that I can. And for some, it's going to be absolutely enough. And of course, there's going to be people that go, you're not enough, But I don't do it for that. If I do it for that, then I'm going to walk away from what I love. And to walk away from what I love would be to turn my back on my true self. And to turn your back on your true self is to really say, I'm going to live my false self. I'm going to go back to that version. And we know how that works really well, right? Yeah. So Jim said I was going to talk about heaven today, so I guess I better. I had a lot to share before I could get to today's topic. We're out of time. Look at that, would you? There's nothing, time is an illusion anyway, it does not matter. I do have points to ponder though, so if I don't get too much into heaven, you can take that heavenly journey on your own by reading the points to ponder, which will be fodder for your group discussions this week as well. I do want to say something else too that has nothing to do with heaven. Heaven avoidance, that's what this is. What does that mean? Uh-oh. I'm on a hell of a journey here. That's what's going on. So, Palm Sunday, what is its significance for us? I was thinking about that, and it will lead us to heaven. It will. So did you ever have this thought, what the hell was Jesus thinking going into Jerusalem? What was he thinking? I mean, he knew what was coming, and he willingly entered into this experience. It's what we call the hero's journey. See, if you know anything about the hero's journey, which you all do, because it's usually your favorite movies and stories have the pattern of the hero's journey, which starts out with some kind of a call to action, some call to leave the discontent of wherever you are by some vague, not defined yet, draw to a greater self or a greater experience or some sort of reward or some sort of fulfillment or some sort of heroic unfolding. And what we know about the hero's journey, which is very evident in the story of Jesus, is that the hero's journey is not just about going from being discontented and then being exalted at the other end of the journey and everyone raising palms and waving them over you and saying you have arrived and telling you that you are the hero and you are the one that we have been waiting for to save us. We know that on the hero's journey there are setbacks, there are challenges, there are obstacles. And those obstacles and those challenges and those difficulties are absolutely essential to the experience of the fulfillment for which the journey was taken in the first place. They are not just interesting elements of a story to make us want to watch and sit on the edge of our seat. They're actually true that what we're being called to realize for ourselves, that spiritual growth unfoldment, that grander self, that true self, that which is constantly calling us because it's already been placed in us as like a spiritual blueprint or DNA of what we really are. That is the call to the journey. That is the call to move through this life experience in a way in which we can garner more of a realization of that true self. But along the way, we're going to come up with everything that is unlike our true self so that it can be seen for what it is and what it is not. So that the forces that would oppose this realization and this growth and this unfoldment would be defeated. And not by resistance, but by the light of truth. So we understand that this journey that you and I are on, that what we encounter along the way that looks like setbacks and difficulties and challenges is actually absolutely the essential transforming experiences to get us to this awakened state. And it may be different, and it will be different for every individual, because we are all unique. We all have our own particular false self that we're dealing with, right? Because my illusions are different than your illusions. And we may have one grand illusion that we all share, which of course we do, which means that we feel separate from our wholeness and well-being, separate from God, separate from love, separate from peace. That's the grand illusion. But the various ways that shows up for us is very unique and particular. And it's so my journey through this life, my journey into wholeness is going to look different than your journey through wholeness in terms of what shows up along the path. But what's universally true about my journey and your journey is that all of those obstacles that we encounter along the way are there for a very particular reason. And that reason is the same. The reason is to wake us up, to show us what we are not, so that we can let go of it. And oftentimes when things are taken from us in our life, we say, well, what good is that? Well, most likely, things that are taken from us, if we have some of our identity invested in it, has anyone ever thought that they were their job, for example? Or a relationship, or a certain amount of money, or a certain amount of status, or a certain amount of anything in the external world. And if those things get taken from us, if those things go away, or they're diminished in some way, or they're compromised in some way, or they're seen to be anything other than what they were seen to be before, it challenges our sense of self, doesn't it? It challenges our identification because we thought we were those things. But the truth is that we're none of those things. And since we're none of those things, then would it not serve us to let go of those things so that we could get back to knowing what we are? And we can't get back to knowing what we are while those things are still, all attached to us like Velcro or a sort of a false costume that we wear in the world. And so this journey, this hero's journey, is oftentimes, it isn't an addition process. I need more degrees, more money, more friends, more lovers. It's usually, it's a shedding, it's a subtraction process. But what's being let go of is what you're not. And so what's left standing at the end of the hero's journey is the truth of your being. It's that which nothing can be taken from you anymore. That you get down to your essential self. And this is the journey that Jesus is taking. The grandest illusion of all is that we are a body, right? How many people think that you're not? Well, never mind, I'm not going to go through that. I'm not going to do the embarrassment. Anyone want to go to the bathroom? We'll do the Kyle Cease thing here. Some of you loved that, some of you hated it, some of you sat for 2 hours. I'm not going to the bathroom because I don't want to be the brunt of a joke. And I talked to him about it. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Anyway. So the idea of Jesus going into Jerusalem when he knew what was awaiting him was this notion that he knew that the biggest illusion that we all carry, maybe it's the last one, is that we die when the body dies. Talk about being identified with a sense of self. We identify ourselves, I'm Larry, I've got this name, I've got this biography, I've got this history, and it all encapsulated in this mind and in this body, and I carry that around with me. And wherever this body goes, there's Larry. Larry's over here now, Larry's over here, and of course, I feel like all of my awareness is right between, my temples right here. That's my whole understanding of reality is right here. And it's so portable and it's so limited and it's extremely vulnerable to the other 7 billion people that I have to share this universe with. And that at any given moment, there's so many things that could hurt me, right? And so Jesus knows that the greatest enlightening experience of all is going to be to move through this experience called bodily death without fear. Because he knows, he sees beyond this crucifixion experience. He actually sees through it. Because at one level, crucifixion's not happening to the real Jesus. I don't know if you can relate to this, but whatever's happening to you right now is not happening to the real you. It may be happening to this unit, 5 feet 10, 175 pound, that's it at this moment. That's it. It may be happening to that. It could be cancer, it could be bankruptcy, it could be a relationship breakup. It's all happening to this body. But the masters of life say over and over again, you ain't that. That ain't you. That's not you. And you can just do the very basic experiment of being aware of your body and being aware of your thoughts and saying, if I can be aware of my thoughts, then what is that that's aware? How can I be that which is aware? I mean, if I am aware of a body, how can I be the body? If I'm aware of my thoughts, how can I be my thoughts? If I'm aware of the world, how can it be who I am? So these thoughts and sensations and these emotions and everything then all become suspects, They become suspects in our understanding of reality. And the more we suspect that they're not who and what we are, the more we hold them less tightly. And the less we grasp them as a definition of who we are and a threat to our survival. I've got more people in my life lately that are going through this experience called cancer and the life-threatening stage 3, stage 4 version of that. And I've been having some amazing, conversations with people around this. It's deepened my own realization that how attached am I to this physical self? Because it's going to come up for every one of us. And of course, we think we know when it's going to be. I mean, we live in this illusion. But we know nothing about this life and what's going to happen with this body. So it so serves us. It so serves us to do this work, to stop living our life defined by the externals of life, to let go of this notion of that what other people think of me and how life is showing up out here is some sort of, a definition of what I am and who I am. Because if all of that is taken away, and of course it's happened to many of us, there you are. So if you or your job or your relationship or your money or your status and those things go away, who are you? You and I are the conscious one. You and I are the aware one. And that never goes away. So I don't want to give away my whole Easter lesson today here for you. But I'm giving you a preview of coming attractions as it's now becoming 10:30. So there's a little thing in the Course in Miracles that I really like. And it's a little prayer. And it's one that we can use when we are stuck in that illusory place, when we are living in a feeling of separation from our well-being, which is oftentimes our experience. And it says that when any situation arises that tempts you to become disturbed, the Course in Miracles has a funny way of saying things, that tempts you to become disturbed. It doesn't just say you become disturbed. What it wants you to know is that you always have a choice, which is supposed to be today's message. There is another way of looking at every situation that might disturb you. And how do we know that there's a better way of looking at it? Because you're not at peace. People ask me all the time, how do I know that I'm listening to the right voice? Am I listening to the voice of the ego or am I listening to the voice of the spirit? How do I know? How do I know? How do I know? And the litmus test for that, the best one I know is when you're at peace, you're listening to the truth. And sometimes the ego likes to co-opt the truth. But usually what comes with that is a certain anxiety or feeling really strong about it, as opposed to a feeling of exhale, that kind of peace. Not peace like, I know I'm right. This is what God gave me to say to you. That's probably not it. So when any situation arises in which you are disturbed, there is another way of looking at this. And how do we know that there is another way of looking at it? You're not at peace. So let's close our eyes for a moment and we'll walk through this meditation together. So as we breathe into this space together, we recognize that we are so much more than the form that occupies the chair. With each breath, we begin to let go of these labels, these identifications, these false notions, whether it's job or relationship or anything that's external in our life that we have allowed to define us in the past. We'll let it set it aside and let something truer bubble up in us now. Let the heart open. Let the heart lead the way. Let a sense of just pure being emerge. And so thinking of a situation now that perhaps is troubling you, is disturbing you in some way, let's just bring that to mind. Usually the first thing that pops up is very suitable for this. we realize if we're feeling this sense of being disturbed or anxious or maybe frustrated or even angry or fearful, we hear these words from a course that say, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. I made the decision myself, but I can also decide otherwise. I want to decide otherwise because I want to be at peace. I do not feel guilty because the Spirit will undo all the consequences of my wrong decision if I will let Him. I choose to let Him by allowing Him to decide for me. So in those situations right now in which you are not experiencing peace, this is where we ask. We ask our higher power, we ask the Spirit, how might I see this? Not through the physical eyes, but through the spiritual eyes, the spiritual understanding that would bring me to a place of peace. There is always another way of seeing. One leads to distress, anxiety, fear, which is the ego's path. And the other leads to experience of wholeness and peace and well-being, which we call heaven. And both of these are within the purview of our choice, within the purview of our understanding, that have nothing to do with what happens outside. These are just perspectives. One that is enlightened, that takes us truer to who we are. And one is unenlightened and deepens our sense of separation. So we ask that we might be guided wherever we go, step by step, knowing the Spirit is guiding us home. And home is where it is the heaven that is within, that is here and that is now. No matter what anybody has ever told you, no matter what anybody's ever said about you, you are the light of the world, and that light cannot be extinguished. And it is that which will illuminate your true nature. Perfect love and perfect peace. And it is realized as we make the choice for it. So as we go forth from this moment, we know that we always have a choice. We may not have a choice of what happens, which is typically the case. We always have a choice of how we choose to react and respond. And the Spirit is guiding us to this peaceful conclusion, inviting us to let go of what is no longer serving us, what is not true, and to live our life from inside out, from the well-being, from the spring of living water that is within each one of us, that we might pour forth a blessing upon our life and upon the people in front of us, that we truly can bring heaven to this earth through how we see and how we share the truth that we know. this is the journey without distance to the home we've never left. For this we are grateful. We are reminded, remembered, and restored to the truth of our being through the simple reversal and remembering and realization of who and what we really are. And for this we are grateful. And so it is.